If you're eating well, taking supplements, doing everything you were told for gut health, and you still feel anxious, foggy, inflamed, or exhausted, this episode is for you. Because you're doing all the right things and your gut and your brain still feel out of sync. The only problem maybe is what you're eating. It may be how your system is communicating too. And today we're going to talk about the gut brain connection and why it breaks down, and how light therapy is changing the way we think about healing and balance. Now, today, I'd like to welcome you to The Advisor. I'm Stacey Chillemi. This show is about solving real problems and the ones that don't respond to surface level fixes. Now, my guest today is Brooke. She's the founder of Ultra Red Light Therapy. Brooke works in photobiomodulation, or PBM, helping people restore balance between gut health and brain health and by supporting body's own communication and energy systems. Brooke, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Stacy. I'm thrilled to be here with you.
Now, let's start here. Why do so many people focus on gut health, probiotics, diet, elimination protocols, and still struggle with mood, cognition, and inflammation?
The gut is like our second brain. So it holds a microbiome similar to our brain, and it
Mhm.
has a lot of control and effects on our body. So a lot of the root cause of illness, disease, headaches, things that are off is caused by the microbiota or the gut being inflamed and off.
What's the cost of treating the gut and the brain like separate systems instead of one integrated loop?
The cost would be that you're missing something. If I'm working with somebody with stress or depression, every time I ask them how their gut health is, and I would say 99% of the time they have bloating, constipation, diarrhea, or let's say like a 5 or 6 out of 10 in gut health is what they self-proclaim. And
Right.
that's because there's the gut-brain axis. They share the good bacteria, they share the bad bacteria, they share energy, they share inflammation. It's a direct path that has, and it's bidirectional.
Yeah.
So the gut has an effect on the brain and the brain has an effect on the gut. So if I'm working on the gut, I ask my clients, how's your stress? How's the
Yeah.
anxiety? Are you depressed? How's your mood? And same thing, Stacey, 99% of the time they have issues as well that can be
Right.
resolved
Yeah.
pretty easily. That's ultimately the highlight in here is these things are achievable and we can get them in balance pretty quickly.
Right. Now, if someone feels like they're doing more and getting less relief, it's not because they're failing, it's because their system, their targeting is incomplete. Now, is that true?
I agree. Yeah, they're just lacking something, and often it's energy, cellular energy in specific to help their body to achieve that balance or what we call homeostasis. It's when everything is working together.
Now, what's actually happened, physiology, physiology, in the physiology world aspects, like when the gut and the brain fall out of sync?
It's considered dysbiosis. So when there's inflammation, it inhibits the natural processes from happening. So normal digestion is slowed, then people become constipated. Or if they have too much of one bacteria, that could be bacteria overgrowth, like SIBO in the small intestine. Or if they have too much bacteria, that could be manifest in diarrhea or more bloating and extra gas. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that can happen. You have these gut conditions like leaky gut, for example. Most people with stress and even autoimmune conditions will have leaky gut. And that's because things are that your everything that you eat and goes into your mouth is digested.
Yeah.
And that needs to go through the process of our digestive organs, but whatever ends up in the gut, we need to be able to excrete that. If it is blocked from constipation or it's leaking into your system, those chemicals are going into your body and they're toxins. It can
Yeah.
be parasites, it can be bad bacteria, it could be viruses, it
Mhm.
could be fungus,
Yeah.
and all of that. Your gut has the ability to handle and process that. But if it leaks into the environment of your bloodstream, it is not equipped to handle this level of toxins. So you have these different gut conditions, even like diverticulitis, Crohn's, colitis, more kind of on the disease and long-term chronic spectrum. All of these are going to be um, basically where the gut is inflamed, it's not able to process and it's not able to work correctly.
Where does photobiomodulation come into this?
So we do about photobiomodulation. If you think about breaking down that word, it's photo for photons of light. Bio means it works on anything living, so it'll work on you just as well as your dog if they have gut issues. And modulation, because we're really trying to get to that homeostasis level. We want things to be modulated, which is more like it's the light is having an effect on these living tissues. And
Right.
you want it to be even and balanced. And that's pH balanced, that's energetically balanced, that's inflammation balanced, and that's the good and bad bacteria. So when you're at this even level, you're able to flourish.
Now, how does light influence systems like the gut and the brain without being invasive?
Because it's by nature of what it is scientifically, it's non-ionizing light, and that's we use low-level LEDs that are super powered, but they are not. It's not a laser, so it's not a single column of light into one point. It's in like the system I use, for example, there's over 1,200 LEDs, so we cover the entire gut. We usually cover the entire organs and it works to reduce inflammation, reduce pain, increase circulation, and speed up the natural healing process for anything. And with that, you're going to give the cells specifically, and these are let's say, the lining of the gut. So that's
Right.
not very cellularly, it's not very thick. It's about 1 to 2 cells thick. And so that has an easy permeability. If there's inflammation that can get stuck, that can cause the leaky gut, that can cause those conditions. What the photobiomodulation does is it repairs the gut. It repairs it on the cellular level, which is what we need. We need to break it down to the building blocks of life, which
Yeah.
are our DNA and our cells. Now, the cells in our gut are different from the cells in our heart. It doesn't
Right.
matter what cells they are, except for red blood cells. Every cell has mitochondria. The
Hmm.
mitochondria specifically absorb what the cytochrome C is a chromophore in the mitochondria. So that absorbs light in this narrow action spectra. It's a narrow window of wavelengths in which those mitochondria are able to absorb the light. Think of it as charging a battery. We need our
Yeah.
batteries charged. We need it for digestion. We need it for even sleep, but we need it to work. We need it to breathe and exist. So
Right.
using that cellular energy now, your body knows what to do. The cells are already programmed. They're intelligent. They're working for you every day, 24/7, 365 around the clock. And you have
Yeah.
trillions of them. And then you have all the mitochondria in there, which I mean, it just depends which cell it is. But for example, like a heart cell, they have the most mitochondria per cell. So now you're having like 5,000 mitochondria per heart cell. And so you're really tapping into that, providing this energy, which can then get things in motion. Think of it as
Yeah.
like, you're charging that battery. Now you're
Mhm.
full. You're full. The gut can help. It can process, it can digest, but it can also use the bad bacteria now. I mean, use the good bacteria to kill the bad bacteria.
Right.
It's strengthened through that energetic process.
Wow. So this isn't about forcing the body to change. It's about giving it the right signals so it can regulate itself.
Exactly. We are coaxing the body in a very gentle, non-invasive, non-pharmacological way. There's no needles involved. There's no medications, which I'm not against medications. It's just,
Mhm.
I don't think everything needs a medication. And sometimes they just get layered too much that people are having more side effects than they are helping the problem. And
Right.
so the light is going to work in a way that is contributing to the overall health in the body. It's not doing any damage. There's no negative side effects to this. One of the only ones is dehydration. And we can
Hmm.
all handle dehydration on our own usually. And if
Yeah.
not, then we can get an IV. But dehydration is something that is very controllable.
Yes.
And so doing sessions with the light for the gut or for the brain or for anywhere, it's comfortable, it's relaxing.
Mhm.
Your body really rejoices in the light. It's something that we revolve around the sun for a reason. Plants
Yeah.
use it for photosynthesis. Animals, if you have ever seen a senior dog laying on the couch in the sun and then they move through the window, so they
Yeah.
move like as the sun is moving, it's because they know they need light. And
Yeah.
animals are our biggest indicator of a no placebo effect.
Yeah.
Our brains sometimes get in the way. And this is over the 18 years I've done this, is at the beginning, people are like, oh, well, that can't work on me. It's light. My doctor doesn't know about it. And I just, okay, no problem. Eventually it'll come around. And now we're in this exciting time. Like it's
Yeah.
2026. Most people have heard of red light. They've seen maybe celebrities with these face masks. They've seen professional athletes in front of the panels or in the LED beds. So now most people are at least aware of it. And doctors, I actually have doctors from a local, well-renowned hospital who are recommending their patients to try light therapy.
Yeah.
And it's just impactful. And even my clients, when they go through, like, say they've been in the hospital with an extreme diverticulitis bout, and for
Mhm.
example, one of my cases, she was in the hospital 3 times in 2 weeks, and for 3 days each time. So 9 days out of 14, she was in the hospital before her 60th birthday. They told her she was going to have a portion of her gut removed because it was necrotic because of the diverticulitis. She was going to
Mhm.
have a colostomy bag for the rest of her life. So what she do? She came to me for 2 weeks, 5 days a week for 2 weeks. That's it. We turned her gut health around. We strengthened it. It got blood flow to the places that need it. The inflammation went down. This woman was in tears because of it was life changing. And she couldn't imagine her life with a colostomy bag due to this inflammatory bout of diverticulitis.
Yeah.
So that you're talking like something that can be easily applied, reasonably cost, that it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to do these
Yeah.
sessions, and to be able to get a renewed sense of life and health back. Now, I guarantee that client is eating differently and now has a renewed sense of life and her gut health, but also understands what she can do to
Hmm.
prevent such a drastic incident from happening again.
Right. Now, how does PBM help, synchronize the microbiome and the brain function in a way diet can't do alone?
It does that through the pH balance, and with our system specifically, we use pulsed frequencies. And so the pulsed frequencies, some of them are anti-pathogenic, meaning the bad bacteria, the bad viruses, anything in there that's not supposed to be in there, fungus, bacteria, virus, is going to be eliminated based on the vibration or pulse of the light. And
Mm-hmm.
that goes back to, I mean, there was a device years ago, decades, I would say ago, called the Rife machine. So using some Rife frequencies, they're also able, let's say there's a certain frequency that just, give a blank example, is like a parasite. And this particular parasite doesn't like the frequency. I'll just make one up, like 700. And they don't like for that parasite specifically vibrates when it's the 700 frequency. That will literally make that parasite just burst or not be able to replicate. And similarly for bacteria. So if we basically stop that from reproducing itself, then now you're inhibiting bacterial growth. And so
Right.
that's how the photobiomodulation works, is by giving the cells, the immune system, the microbiome, the good bacteria enough energy and enough power to really eliminate the bad stuff. We have that within us. It's already
Yeah.
within our self, our white blood cells, our immune system, the good bacteria, the good part of your microbiome is going to have that effect already in your system. We just have to give it the right tools, in light of a better sense, to do so. When we have our tools, which is in this form, the currency is energy, then we're
Right.
able to do what we need to do already. And it's something that's passive. You don't have to think about breathing. You don't have to think about digesting, but we get to this super inflamed state where it's like, oh man, I do have to think about how to digest. I have to have an extra aid. And it's usually because your currency and energy is depleted.
Right. Now, who tends to benefit the most from this stress-driven symptoms like chronic gut issues or mood challenges or brain fog? Who benefits the most?
I'd say it's a variety of individuals. I see young people in their teens and 20s who are off. And for me, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not here to diagnose and say, okay, this is the cause either way. But if I have a
Right.
young person coming to me with high anxiety and stress, and they happen to have gut issues, it makes
Yeah.
me understand that for them, as a young person, most likely their gut stuff came from the dysbiosis in their brain.
Hmm.
And I think it tends to be older people who have more dysbiosis in their gut that leads to their brain. Now, that's just kind of my observation from my clinic. But when I see
Yeah.
somebody who, they're eating with their parents and they might be, 12 to 15 years old and they eat at home, and I know their parents cook and eat healthy, most
Yeah.
likely their gut health isn't going to be coming from uh, irregularities in their gut specifically. Most
Right.
often, it'll be coming from their stress or anxiety, or something that I feel is kind of an epidemic with young kids these days, with maybe social media and just the pressures and technology. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of a bigger rabbit hole to go down. But I feel like when they're younger, it's more of the brain stuff leading to the gut dysbiosis. And then when you
Yeah.
get to your 20s, maybe college years, you're not going to be eating well, but you also have that stress. So I think it's kind of a cyclical loop when you're in your 20s and you're off
Yeah.
on your own trying to figure your life out. And then you either go a path of, okay, I need to do healthy eating because that's who I'm going to be for my adult years, or you
Yeah.
don't. And the ones that don't will have more inflammation, and they'll tend to cope and self-medicate as well. And all of those things, where whether it's alcohol and drugs and bad eating and however people cope, is all going to lead to more gut inflammation and overall inflammation in the body. Whereas
Right.
those seeking out a more healthier, balanced lifestyle with a little bit less stress and eating healthier habits and more exercise are going to have the better gut health overall. And
Right.
so and then in the later years, and also, excuse me, I think medications, more people are on medications in the later years.
Yeah.
And so that is going to have a huge effect. If somebody's on antibiotics or medications that disrupt the gut bacteria and the microbiota, then that's going to
Hmm.
have an effect, a negative effect. And it will start in the gut and lead to the brain as well.
Right. Now, what's the first shift people usually notice when the gut-brain communication starts improving?
Oh, they just feel just everything is working in sync. So they feel calmer, less anxious. I have clients who come to me, and we'll do both simultaneously, because you in my light device you can use two outputs, and so
Mhm.
I can treat the brain and the gut at the same time. And it's acute treatments. Like yes, I could do a whole body and it could benefit both. But if I'm placing the pads on the front brain, frontal and temporal, which is kind of like where you would wear a headband,
Mhm.
and temporal above the ears, if I place the pads there, that's going to affect mood and it's going to regulate the stress. It's going to regulate that brain function of where your mood is, how happy are you, those dopamine and serotonin receptors. And then similarly, I'm going to place it right across the gut. So that way, most of the energy is going to go to those two locations. But guess what? Our gut and our brain are not in a vacuum. So
Yeah.
the energy that I'm applying with the light to those areas is able to go in the whole body. So
Mhm.
oftentimes people will, when they fill out my paperwork, I ask how their sleep is, how's their respiratory health, how's their digestion, all of the questions to kind of get a picture of what my clients are going through.
Yeah.
Well, 99% of the time, people's sleep will improve, and we're not even working on the sleep. It's
Right.
because of the disruption in the gut or in the brain or both. And so we really start to hear our clients say they slept better, they're not getting bloated, they they went number two, right after our session.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a scientist. I'm happy to receive all of this information. They sometimes tell me, "Hey, this is TMI." I'm like, "Nothing's TMI for me. Tell me all of it. Give me the goods because I want to hear how well it's working. I want to hear
Yeah.
if they're blowing up like a balloon or they just emptied themselves all out. Like, I don't care. I need to know because we need to
Yeah.
see what's working. But what changes is their energy, their relationships with their family, whether that's their parents or their children or their spouse, or their friends. Their relationships are changing. They're now able to be more social because they don't have loose stools, or they don't, they're not bloated, so they can go out to eat. They can maybe have a glass of wine at dinner if they really want to. They're not limited and okay, I just have to eat rice and chicken, white chicken, right? That's it for now to get my gut inflammation down.
Yeah.
So it's something very tangible and it happens quickly.
That's amazing. Now, what's the biggest misconception people have about light therapy?
I'd say the biggest misconception about light therapy is that it's all the same. That red light therapy is red light therapy and any device will do anything. And while I am a big proponent of yes, do it if you're doing red light, excellent. I'm not going to put that down at all, but there are levels to it and it's different. So where I use a professional medical grade, hospital grade device, there are home devices that people use that can be effective. It's just going to take you a lot longer to get there. I also recommend to check safety certifications, reviews, and really try to get a trusted device. It's
Hmm.
often, Stacey, that clients come to me and say, "Oh, I've tried it. I had this device and I did a facial with it, and my face blew up and in this rash, or I did this and it left these burn marks." And so I just tend to advise to err on the side of caution. And I'm an open book. And if
Yeah.
people ask me if they want a home device, I definitely have ones that I recommend. And if they pull up something that I've never heard of, I tell them that. I've never heard of that. I don't know. Maybe go with a trusted source here, somebody that's been around for a while.
Right.
And
Exactly.
trust in your gut. There's also it matters. Say like a panel light. If a panel light's on the wall, usually you have to be about 6 to 8 inches away. Well, if you're 6 to 8 inches away, and my skin is 3 levels, 3 layers thick, how is that going to penetrate to my gut or to my
Yeah.
brain through my skull? So not only is it like in the gut, that's soft tissue, but if you're
Yeah.
trying to get to the brain and go through bone,
Right.
you've got to have it touching the skin. And so
Right.
I think a lot of people are missing the mark and saying, okay, I'm doing red light therapy and the whole room will be glowing. And
Yeah.
it's fine, it's great, it'll be good for circulation, and circulation will lead to other things. So if you have more circulation in your body, you're going to have benefits. But imagine if it was on your skin, touching the gut, wrapping around, conforming. It's going to feel amazing. Like
Yeah.
people just love basking in the light, literally because you can feel the warmth coming from you. You can feel things working. When I put the pads on, And within 90 seconds, a client of mine will say, "Oh, did you hear that? My stomach's already talking. I feel things moving in there." Like 90 seconds later, that's what I want. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Rather than, okay, I got circulation. The circulation's going to help my gut. So it's rather than an indirect effect of just circulation, we are targeting directly. So it has a more powerful, and then who wants to wait around? If you're in dysbiosis or you're constipated, you don't want to wait 6 weeks or 2 months. Like you'd be dead. Blow up. So,
Exactly.
you want, when people come to me, they want fast results, and that's what we give them is
Yeah.
fast results. Like within a week to a month, like I have my clients better.
I love it. I love it. Now, how does PBM fit alongside nutrition, lifestyle, and other health practices without replacing them?
It's a great integrative tool, adding another tool to your tool chest of things that you can do uh, pretty simply, either at home or with a trusted practitioner. There's nothing like this one singular tool that can do everything. Now,
Right.
I always recommend that my clients include diet, include exercise. Those are our tools that we're able to do ourselves. Those are
Yeah.
just healthy habits. Nobody needs to tell you to go exercise or to eat right. You are faced with, okay, here's breakfast. You're faced with these decisions all day, every day. And it can be
Yes.
exhausting. And when you're in a state of inflammation and dysbiosis, it's harder to make those decisions because your brain's not working right. It's
Right.
just going to convince you one way or the other, usually the way that you want it to, and not the
Yeah.
more challenging ways, but it's not your fault.
Right.
Also, it's the fault of like it's off, and it's energetically off, it's chemically off, it's physically off, and when you're off, you're not going to make the right decisions.
It's true.
And so eating healthy, you have to feel good, and you have to feel good results. And then what people do is let's say, well, I tried to eat healthy, and I did this and nothing happened. Well,
Right.
that's because you're in such an inflamed or dysbiosis state that it's not going to make a difference. And I experienced this about 10, well, no, 2018. I was in a second car accident. I was in an Uber and we were T-boned going through an intersection. So my previous injury was to my neck and spine 10 years before that. Well, in 2018, when this happened, it was layered. And so my hormones got thrown off with a neck injury. I gained about 50 pounds. I could look at water. I just looking at a glass of water and I felt like I gained a pound. And it was like, okay, I can't do anything. And I'm in this kind of like not depressed, but just sad. And it's just like everything. My body is already inflamed and it's heavy. And it feels heavier from the weight. It feels heavier from the
Yeah.
inflammation. The weight of the world is on my shoulders. And now I can't get out of it. And my
Right.
hormones aren't working. So that's having an effect too. So usually it's compounded.
Yeah.
And so what I did, I started doing green light, and I used that and doing treatments 3 times a week on my gut. But I didn't just do that. I did my brain at the same time. I did my thyroid at the same time. And what happened over the period of 1 year was I lost 50 pounds, and not
Wow.
aggressively. In 1 month, I had lost 20 pounds. And then the rest of the 11 months, I lost 30 more. And that was in 2018. And I kept it off. And I didn't do anything profound except for trying the light, seeing how that worked with my body. I couldn't work out. And then slowly but surely, I've been able to build my system back, get stronger, and repair from the damage what had been caused. And yes,
Yeah.
I could have done surgery, and yes, I could have done some shortcuts, but I just did it in order to give my body time. And a lot of times, Stacey, that's all we need is time itself.
Exactly.
We need time for repair and grace. Giving yourself grace, like, hey, this isn't going to go off in a day or a week. Like, give yourself
Yeah.
those 21 days of healthy habits, healthy eating, and use light as a tool to add to your toolbox to help you
Mhm.
achieve those goals.
Yes. So true. Now, if someone is listening and feels frustrated because they're tired, everything for their gut or brain is still doesn't feel balanced, what's the one thing you want them to understand about how their body actually heals?
I'd say going back to that again would be time and energy. And it's what you're spending your energy on and your energetic currency. If you don't have enough energetic currency to do that, and I'm talking about eating healthy, that's energetic currency. Doing like going out in the sun, taking a walk after you eat, or taking a walk in the morning, seeing the morning sun is very powerful as well. That has a lot of red and near infrared in it that you can do in sunrise and sunset. You're getting your natural red light, but most importantly, you're setting your circadian biology. The
Mhm.
circadian biology, which is like your rhythm of the natural sleep wake cycle. And that is all set through the pituitary, which is triangulated. It's kind of like in the back of our mouth, underneath the underside of our brain. And if
Yeah.
you and it's a direct path from the eyes and the ears and under the chin. And so if you triangulate that and you can get sun in the morning through your eyes, you're going to help set your circadian balance. It will
Yeah.
help set your the process and the times that you're eating, where you get to bed, where you're not eating after dark. You're getting to
Mhm.
bed in a reasonable hour. The junk light, which I'm referring to as like a screen, the phones, a TV, even bright white LEDs that
Yeah.
are, in oftentimes in homes, but for sure in cars. Like if you're driving at night and you're seeing all those LEDs, everything like that is going to set you off. And yes, it's not going to be like, okay, I can't function because I have too much of the junk light. You're not going to notice it like that. You're going to
Right.
notice that just things are slower and eventually it's going to catch up to you. And you're not going to know why things are off. And then it's like, okay, now I need to see why. Well, what am I eating? What am I drinking? Am I breathing fresh oxygenated air? Am I putting my feet on the ground and getting grounded with the earth? Am I walking a little bit or using some weights to exercise and keep my muscles strong? What are my habits? And I think a recognition of if you're in a state of inflammation or dysbiosis is to kind of map out what you're doing and then
Yeah.
see what can be changes. Because if you write it down, there's going to be a point, and I'm guilty as well, where I'm like, oh, I don't want to write that down. If you don't want to
Yeah.
write that down, then that's not necessarily the most healthy habit. And that's the one that you need to start with. And you make
Exactly.
those small changes. It doesn't have to be anything drastic. Just eliminate or eliminate one bad habit and add one healthy one. And then guess what? When you do that, you're going to be like, all right, I'm vibing with this. What else can I do?
Hmm.
Let me go back to that list. Oh, I seem to have not written down this one thing. And then you change that as well. And it's like
Yeah.
little micro steps that can help to have a big impact.
I love it. I love it. Now, what type of services do you provide?
So we at my clinic, we just do photobiomodulation therapy. So it's our specialty. We're not another business that focuses on other modalities. We have we have a PEMF mat as well, but we mostly do light therapy. So people come to us for our expertise. And we treat anything from chronic pain to autoimmune conditions, migraines, brain injuries such as TBI or a stroke rehabilitation. We even help people with degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, which have been known to have started in the gut as well. Have start with the gut and the microbiome in the mouth, and all of those have been shown to contribute to those diseases. So this is like something we help our clients with when they have these conditions. But we also, on the other side, we do preventative care. We do performance. So if I have athletes and they want to perform better, we can treat their lungs, help with lung expansion. So they're getting more oxygen to their muscles. We can work on major muscle groups so they have more energy in those muscles. And it doesn't have to be a professional athlete. It can be everyday people like you and me, like I want to get a better workout. So, and I want my rear to get lifted. So I'm going to do light on that and before I work
Yeah.
out, and then it's going to help. So We even have geriatrics, a lot of seniors that we treat, and children. And people come in with, because kids, whether they're injuring themselves in sports or they're sick, like say they just have the flu or some sort of bug, we can
Yeah.
help all of that. And it's really nice because it's not me doing the work. This is I'm facilitating and putting the pads at the right place and using a specific frequency that's customized for each one of my clients, but
Yeah.
it's really empowering self-healing on the customer themselves. And so what they need, their specific treatment plan is just customized directly for them to help optimize their cellular health and their body.
Oh, I love it. Now, where can people find you?
So I'm in Newport Beach, California. So you can come to my clinic here. You can find me on my website is ultraredlighttherapy.com. I'm pretty active on Instagram. It's at ultra red light. I'm on there with videos and pictures. I have testimonies, and you'll see animals on there as well because I treat dogs and horses. I mean, anything living is in my scope. And
Yeah,
and I'm on LinkedIn if you want to connect. So I'm happy to connect with clients and practitioners alike who might want to add this to their business.
right.
And then even also, if somebody's not in my area or can't come travel to my area to get treatment, I rent my devices across the nation, and it comes with my treatment plan and consultation. So if somebody has gut issues and they want really fast, expedited healing, they can reach out to me. I have a little short wait list, but they can reach out to me and we'll get them on a plan, ship them a device, and actually hold your hand through the programs on protocols on what to do each day and how to help your overall health and to get to those wellness goals faster.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now, where can people find you again?
In Newport Beach, California, and ultraredlighttherapy.com and at ultraredlight on Instagram.
I love it. Now, if you had to give away, like if you were thinking about three takeaways that you want people to remember from this conversation, are there anything specific that you'd like to mention that you want people to remember from our conversation today?
Absolutely. I would say number one is to get yourself some of that sunrise and sunset, the natural light. That's something that we can do all to help with the light therapy without a device. Number two is that the gut and brain are working together. It's bidirectional. One is going to have an effect on the other and vice versa. And if you're feeling a certain way or your mood is off and your gut is off, it's not your fault. It's hard to get out of it, but you have to address both.
Yeah.
Addressing one will not address the other. You need to address both simultaneously, and whatever that looks like for you to reduce the inflammation and increase the circulation and help to repair both. And then the third is to try and adopt healthy habits and to change one small thing, and that's achievable, and that leads to healthier goals overall.
Yeah. Oh, this has been amazing. Brooke, this was so informative. I just love all the information you provided about red light therapy and, how, it could be so effective on your body. I've had it done, on different parts of my body for different illnesses, and it's been incredibly effective. And I just, I'm a big fan of it. I really think it works, and I'm so glad that you're opening it up to others and here today to share with others because I don't think everybody knows, a lot about it. They know they've heard about it, but I don't think, they don't know how deep it can go, and help so many different areas of your body, So I really thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge with us and sharing about your clinic. And to anyone listening, if your gut and your brain feel out of sync, the answer may not be, more effort. It may be, better communication and help with an expert that knows, the other ways to help the body, like red light therapy. So, thank you so much for all your knowledge and expertise in this area. I really appreciate you coming on the show. And here I'm Stacey Chillemi and from the Advisor. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.